Hi, in this video, I will talk about one of the most interesting figures I have come across in historical books. She is the woman who appears to have had a great impact on Ibn Arabi, shaping his understanding of the significant role of women in his spiritual paradigm. Fāṭimah Bint Ibn al-Muthannā. Ibn Arabi said the following about her. She lived at Seville when I met her. She was in her 90s and only ate the scraps left by people at their doors. Although she was so old and ate so little, I was almost ashamed to look at her face when I sat with her. It was so rosy and soft. Her own special chapter of the Quran was the opening. She once said to me, I was giving the opening and I can wield its power in any matter I wish. I, together with two of my companions, built a hut of reeds for her to live in. She used to say, of those who come to see me, I admire none more than Ibn Arabi. On being asked the reason for this, she replied, the rest of you come to me with part of yourselves, leaving the other part of you occupied with your other concerns, while Ibn Arabi is a consolation to me, for he comes to me with all of himself. When he rises up, it is with all of himself, and when he sits, it is with his whole self, leaving nothing of himself elsewhere. That's how it should be on the way. Although God offered to her his kingdom, she refused, saying, you are all else is inauspicious for me. Her devotion to God was profound. Looking at her in a purely superficial way, one might have thought she was a simpleton, to which she would have replied that he who knows not his Lord is the real simpleton. She was indeed a mercy to the world. Once, on the night of the festival, Abu Amr, the Muezzin, struck her with his whip in the mosque. She gave him a look and left the place feeling very angry with him. In the morning, she heard him calling to prayer and said, O my Lord, do not rebuke me that I was affected by one who calls your name in the darkness of the night while other men sleep, for it is my beloved who is mentioned on his lips. Oh my God, do not censure him because of my feeling against him. The next morning, the jurists of the locality went after the festival prayer to convey their respects to the Sultan. This muezzin, full of worldly aspiration, went in with them. When the Sultan inquired who the fellow might be, he was told that it was only the muezzin. Then the Sultan asked who had allowed him to come in with the jurists and ordered him to be thrown out, which he was. However, after someone had pleaded with the Sultan for him, he was let off, although the Sultan had intended to punish him. Fatima heard about this incident and said, I know about it, and if I had not prayed for leniency for him, he would have been executed. Her spiritual influence was very great indeed. After this, she died. Some of the believing jinn would sit with her, seeking her companionship, but she would refuse them and ask them to remain hidden and would remind them of what the apostle of God had said the night he caught the demon. I remembered the words of my brother Solomon, and so I let him go. At first, she had earned her living on a spindle. Then it occurred to her to earn her keep by hand spinning, but God caused her spinning finger to become crippled from the moment she started on the work. I had noticed the finger and had asked her about it. She then told me the story and told me that she had from that day relied upon the scraps of food thrown from people's houses. She came to the way while still a young girl living in her father's house. She had married a righteous man whom God had afflicted with leprosy. She served him happily for 24 years until he was taken to God's mercy. When she became hungry, and no scraps or offerings of food came her way, she would be content and thank God for his favor in that he was subjecting her to that to which he had subjected his prophets and saints. She would say, Lord, how can I deserve this great position in that you treat me as you treated your loved ones? One day I built a hut for her of palm branches in which to perform her devotions. That same night, the oil in her lamp ran out, something which had never happened to her before. I never learned the secret of that from her. She got up to open the door to ask me to bring her some more oil, and in the darkness, plunged her hand into some water in the bucket underneath her. She smelled it, and the water was immediately changed into oil. She then took the jug and filled it with the oil, lit the lamp, and came back to see from where the oil had come. When she saw no further trace of oil, she realized that it had been a provision from God. One day, when I was with her, a woman came to see her to complain of her husband who had gone away to Sidonia, 2 days' journey from Seville. She told us that her husband wanted to seek another wife in that place, which she found hard to accept. I asked Fāṭimah whether she had heard the woman's plea and begged her to call upon God to restore her husband to her. She said, I will make no supplication, but I will cause the chapter, the opening, Al-Fātiḥah, to follow behind him and bring him back. I then said, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, and she recited the rest of the chapter. So I realized her station when she recited the Fātiḥah, for she brings it into being by her recitation as a tangible, airy form, and then send it forth. When she had brought it into being as a form, I heard her say to it, O chapter of the opening, go to her the Sidonia, to the husband of this woman, and drive him back at once from wherever you find him, and do not let him delay. She said this sometime between noon and the late afternoon. On the third day, the man arrived at his home. Then the woman came to inform us of his arrival and to thank us. I then told her to bring her husband to us. When he came, we asked him what had brought him back from Herod when he had intended to marry and settle down there. He replied that he had left his house in the middle of the afternoon, heading towards the municipal building for the marriage, and that on the way he had felt a constriction in his heart, and everything seemed suddenly very dark to him. At this, he became very anxious. Then he left that place and arrived in Triana before sunset, where he had found a boat for Seville. Thus, he had sailed the day before and had arrived in Seville that morning. Having left all his package and effects behind in Herod, he admitted that he still didn't know why he had done it. I have seen various miracles performed by her. Ibn ʿArabī mentions that he heard her once saying, I wondered how someone says that he loves God and yet he does not rejoice in witnessing while he is always manifesting right in front of his eye for him to be looking at each glance. He does not miss the blink of an eye. But how then these lovers are crying and they are claiming love and cry? Are they not ashamed if his closeness is closer than those who are close to him, and the lover is the closest person to him, and he is the witness for whom they are crying then? Then she used to refer to Ibn ʿArabī and ask him, Oh my son, what is your opinion on what I'm saying? And he would say to her, Oh my mother, what you say is right. She said, By God, I'm truly amazed. My beloved has granted me the opening chapter, Al-Fātiḥah, to serve me, and by God, it has never distracted me from him. Ibn ʿArabī said, That day I came to understand the spiritual station of this woman when she said that the opening chapter serves her. Ibn ʿArabī adds that she often used to play the tambourine and rejoice Thus, when he exclaimed about that, she tells him, I am rejoicing with him because he took care of me and selected me out from other people of my kind, and he made me for himself. Ibn Arabi explains that she could see jinn without being embodied, and this is confusing to many sheikhs who think that they can see the jinn and address them, but they in fact see them only in some fictional images fantasized by the jinn. Ibn Arabi says that one day Fatima told his mother the following: "O Noor, this is my son, and he is your father. Thus, you should be righteousness to him and never disobey him." And she told him, I am your spiritual mother, and Noor is your earthly mother. That's it. I try my best to keep this video simple and different from academic ones. Thanks for listening.